Good afternoon, everybody. I see that there's a lot of people excited about the beer, so hopefully not too much longer now. My name is Meredith Hassett. I am from the Developer Relations team. We are a global team, but I'm based in California at the Palo Alto office. I do work for SAP, and I support a lot of our UI products and teams. So the UI5 team is one of the teams I get to work closely with, and it's a pleasure working with you guys, and thank you for having me here today. So I'm here to talk to you about how easy it is to integrate with UI5. We're going to talk about SAP UI5 as well as the SAP API Business Hub. Has anyone heard of that? The API Business Hub. Okay, I see a couple. I think at the very end of this, a lot of your minds are going to be blown because it's an amazing tool that you guys need to know more about. So to get started, let's talk about what an integration actually is. So when you hear the word integration, what are we talking about? Well, there's lots of different ways you can integrate, but today, when I talk about integration, I'm going to be talking about web APIs, so web integrations, web services, so everything on the internet, in the cloud, so to speak. So there's a bunch of different types of APIs. So if you've heard of SOAP or WSDL, these are two different types of web services that are available. They are XML-based services, so they're a little bit heavy, a little bit slower, but they do also provide you a lot more structure, and they allow you to incorporate business logic into your web services. You'll also hear the word REST. So REST is what I'm going to be talking more about, RESTful web services today. A REST web service is a lot lighter. It is generally JSON-based, but it doesn't have to be as well, and it comes with predefined verbs. So it's a lot more lightweight and faster when you have a web app. So that's generally what you're going to see people use. So we're going to talk mostly about REST today. So tell me a little bit more about resting. What can I do with a REST API? So REST comes with 4 main verbs out of the box. There are other ones, but these are the 4 main verbs you're going to hear when you use a REST API. So verbs or actions that are available with the REST service. So with RESTful APIs, you get, which retrieves data, put, which will update data, post, which creates new data, and then delete, which obviously deletes data. There's a couple different formats that you'll see that REST data body and responses. So the main format is going to be JSON, which is a very lightweight format of sending data and receiving data as well. So this is going to be that standard name-value pairing that you're going to see. And OData is actually based off of JSON, so it enhances the JSON capabilities. So it's a little bit heavier than JSON, but it provides you a lot more features out of the box, so it's going to be easier for you to use, and you can focus more on your business logic and less on all that back-end structure that JSON is going to require for you. So OData does provide queryability out of the box, so you don't have to configure those queries and worry about constructing your endpoint to make sure that you have all those queries taken care of. So you can have these queries right out of the box for you, such as selecting the top results from the database. Sorry, that word escaped my mind. Or selecting to expand a connected data set that might be part of your data. You'll also hear XML as a form of data that you can use with REST services. This is a little bit less popular because parsing XML is pretty slow, but it can be used with REST services. With UI5, we're going to say the preferred format is going to be the OData service. UI5 was designed with OData optimization in mind, and it's going to be that data model, so the M portion of the MVC model when you hear the design paradigm for UI5. So when you're building with UI5, you're always going to want to try to use an OData service whenever possible if it's available for you. So how do you actually go about calling an API? Great, so all this data is available for us elsewhere. How do we actually get to this data? So the standard you're going to hear is XHR, or XML HTTP request. And it's a way that you can communicate between a web page and a server. So it does that client-side to server-side communication for you. It actually is an API as well that'll do that communication for you. And another word you're going to hear a lot is Ajax. Ajax enhances the XHR capabilities by allowing you to update a web page or reload the data on a web page without actually reloading the web page. And as we know, it's resource intensive to update a web page, so this is really beneficial for you as a developer. It also allows you to request data from a server and receive data from a server even after the web page is loaded. So again, you don't have to reload the web page every time you want to get new data or retrieve some additional fields. So how does SAP make this easier for us? SAP provides us with destinations, which are beneficial. You've probably used them before for Northwind or an ES4 service, or even your XSO data that was exposed from your HANA database. But why is it beneficial? Why does SAP provide this for us? Why is it beneficial? Number one, it solves that CORS problem for us. So CORS is that cross-origin request, and if anyone's developed with an API before, they know how much this error pops up all the time, cannot retrieve the data because of the CORS header issue. So destinations help resolve this issue for us. Additionally, it provides additional security. So when you're doing an API request, a lot of the times people are concerned about it is because you can expose personal data, such as your authorization token, authorization token, and just by hitting F12 on your keyboard, someone can go and find that and pretend to be you. Now, with the destinations, all that authentication can be stored in your destination, and it's going to be obscured from the end user. So if they try to F12 and look at what you're doing, they're not going to be able to get your authorization key. Additionally, it's going to be easier to manage. So if you have multiple applications that are calling the same data source, if for some reason that data source gets a new version, or there's an update and you have to change your endpoint or change some of your configurations, you only have to update them in one place. You don't have to go find it in every single application and update it. By using a destination, it's going to be a lot easier to manage any data that is used in your applications. And then once you actually have this destination configured, you can use it as an OData model when you're building your UI5 application. So you're probably familiar with this if you've built a template or built from a template in the Web IDE. It makes you select a destination or a data source. And by using the destinations, it's a lot simpler to actually construct your OData model, get that metadata file into your application, so then it's simpler to build. So where do I find APIs? Just search for developer plus whatever you're looking for. A lot of these products that you're probably using already have APIs that are available to you. Most of them are free to use. Some of them might require you to actually reach out to the developer relations team over at that product. For example, I've seen this with Uber's API. If you actually want to use their ride requesting API, they do request that you actually communicate with them so that it can track who's going to be requesting, because there is going to be financial and personal data transferred between your two systems. But for the most part, they're super available to you. Yeah, so most of your favorite sites have APIs. And if you want like a good catalog of external APIs to look for, Programmable Web is going to be a great resource for finding a lot of APIs that are available out there for you. They have a great API catalog. So if you go under API directory, they have lots and lots and lots of APIs that are available there. You'll even see some SAP ones up there as well. Now, if you're looking for SAP-specific APIs, this is where the API Business Hub is going to be your best friend, because this is going to be the catalog of SAP APIs as well as selected partner APIs. You're going to be able to find what APIs SAP has available, even from our subsidiary companies such as SuccessFactors, Concur, Ariba, Hybris. Those are all going to be up there as well. And it's free to use and free to try. So if you're not already a customer of like one of those products, you can see what features that you can actually get and try out with these other products before you even go ahead purchasing it. Another great benefit is that you can you'll get an API that's linked to a sandbox with test data, so you can actually go and start developing your application against this API without having to worry about, am I posting data to a database and it's going to corrupt my database, or am I deleting things when I didn't really mean to be deleting things in my process. You're testing against a sandbox when you're using the API endpoint from SAP Business Hub, and it works exactly the same as how it would when you switch to that productive version. So it's a great way for you to develop as well and test without impacting your own data system. So we're going to switch over to the API Business Hub. There we go. Okay. So this is the API Business Hub, super easy to find, api.sap.com. There are so many APIs that are available on here. I believe they're up to and business services. I think there's 42 APIs alone. There's over 100 APIs, business services, and integrations available to you through the API Hub. And you'll even see brand new stuff like Leonardo's machine learning. So if you wanted to try out machine learning, but you're not a back-end developer and you're not really sure how to get started with it, there is an API available for you. So as a front-end developer, you can actually go ahead and try it out and see what great features are available for machine learning and why it's such a popular buzzword right now. So if we go ahead and take a look at the machine learning, so on the API Hub, you'll see that there are collections of APIs, and then within the APIs, you'll find the artifacts. And artifacts are going to be an endpoint that has a certain feature set available from it. So if we look at, for example, the image classification API, within that, there's going to be additional endpoints. So if we look, there's a synchronous and an asynchronous version. If you are developing for productive purposes, always, 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 always use asynchronous. Synchronous is, oh. Wait, how do I change that? Do I have to exit presentation mode? Sorry, guys. No, that's not right. What did I do? Technical difficulties. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me do a brief overview of that again. Sorry. SAP API Business Hub, api.sap.com. APIs, sorry. There's videos, I'll post them later, so you can watch the videos too. So I was talking about the machine learning API. As you can see, there are 42 API packages available. So if we go into a package, such as the machine learning API, you'll see that there are 10 artifacts, where an artifact is then actually going to be an API, which has a collection of endpoints that are related to each other. So I was looking at the image classification API. Is it all making sense now that you were seeing my screen and I'm not just talking about something you can't see? So this is where I was talking about synchronous versus asynchronous. So there is a synchronous version of the API, but you're always going to want to use asynchronous when you're developing for productive reasons. Synchronous will block the main thread on your application, which is really bad because that means nothing else can load until this call finishes. So by doing asynchronous, you're allowing other things to render on your web page without actually blocking your web page. But we're going to do synchronous so you can actually see what's happening. So with the image classification API, the goal is for it to tell me what it thinks it's finding within an image. So if I provide it an image, the machine learning should tell me what it thinks it sees. And if you have a productive version of machine learning, as you provide it with more data, it's going to start to understand better what you're looking at, and it's going to give you better responses with better percentages. So I'm going to choose a file. In this example, I'm going to use a picture of my dog. So we're going to see what machine learning thinks. So the really cool thing you're going to see is with the machine learning API, it doesn't just say dog. It's actually trying to identify which type of dog it is. My dog's a mutt, so I'm not really sure if it's right or not, but you can see that we're getting the label is actually not dog, it's English foxhound. And then when we're seeing the score below it, that's how likely it is that that's what the image I provided it is. So it's giving it a rating of around 56, so not great, but not terrible either. So if I were, for example, to try a picture of my cat, and again, this is all free, and I'm trying it out right now on the fly and getting results. So it's not like you're testing against a mock server. This is like real live data. So this, it has no clue what it is, as you can see. We're at 0.18, no idea, and it thinks it's a paper towel. So no idea. So So this is the API Hub. Now, what's great about this is with the new Web IDE that's available, so the multi-cloud version of Web IDE, so if you just go ahead and enable that, you'll see that as a data source out of the box for you, so you won't have to configure a destination or anything. So if I get a new project from template, we'll just start with the Fiori work list. And this is our UI5con demo. So when I actually go to my service catalog, the SAP API Hub is now available for you in the dropdown. So you don't have to worry about configuring a destination. This is out of the box available for you. So you can actually use this as your data source to build your application. And then when you're ready to switch it over to productive, you just have to switch out that destination in the Neo app. So if I select that, I'm going to be prompted to log in. So it's the same community credentials you have if you have a HANA trial account. It's going to be the same credentials for that. And then once I'm here, I can actually see all of the APIs that are available for me that I would see if I was to keep looking through the API Hub. They're searchable as well, so I can find a specific endpoint if I can type properly. And you can see, just like with any other destination that you would have configured or a service, you can see the collections that are available behind it and then the fields that would be available within that collection. So I'm going to select the employee entity type. And then when I actually go to create my application, very similar, as if you were doing this with a template with your Northwind data service or ES4 data service, I can select the objects from my template and then see all the fields that are available to actually bind to that attribute when I create my application. So in this example, and then we'll just create space. Okay. Yeah, and so the API Hub does have a mock data service behind it. So again, I don't have to create a fake data and worry about all that extra overhead of creating like a test harness and a test suite of data. I can actually just get the test data right from the API Hub and not have to worry about creating my own sandbox version. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. And we're going to have to select which file to run. So we're just going to use the index file. We're going to log in again. And we'll see how fast this loads. It's been a little slow lately. Come on. I swear the data's there. There it is. So this is actually data being pulled from that sandbox that's available for you as well to test against. So those are the demos I wanted to show for you guys. But if you want to find out more, the Developer Center is going to be a great resource. There's going to be tutorials on how to get started with the API Hub and then integrating it into your UI5 application as well, similar to what I just showed you today. And if you want to see more about how to integrate with external APIs, if you go to my blog, I do a series called API Friday, where I try to show you guys different APIs that are available and out there, and free to try as well. Everything I do is free. I'm not going to make you pay for anything. So if you just go to my SAP People profile, you'll find some tutorials there. So thanks, guys.